Welcome back to ATL Day Ones, also known as the Braves winning party celebration that keeps happening over and over and over again. But thank you for rocking with Jarvis and me. We appreciate you guys for subscribing to our Locked On Sports Atlanta network, closing in on 2,000 subscribers. Continue to subscribe, continue to like and follow us. We appreciate you. And also, be sure that you check us out on any of your platforms. And when you do check us out where you check out podcasts, be sure to give us a 5-star review and let us know how much you are loving this show because we love hanging out with you guys, even if it's just virtually. We love hanging out with you guys and we love being able to every single day bring you the good news, being able to say the tagline that Jarvis loves to say, and I quote, the Braves are still undefeated in June. It just
Yes,
feels
they
great,
are.
doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that is cool.
Absolutely.
It's yeah.
And not just that, Jarvis, but the excitement is in the way that they are doing it, these complete games that they're playing. And you can go anywhere from a Max Fried situation where he gets rocked
Yeah,
in an
he
inning.
got touched up a little
But on
bit.
the
Yeah.
same token, he gets 6 strikes and only allows one hitter to walk, right? And he
Right.
completes and he gets through what 6 and 2/3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that positive, right? And then you look at them getting back to the excellence that we've always seen from them from a defensive perspective. So you got that piece. But lo and behold, what is the most exciting thing about this is when you see stats like Dansby Swanson, Travis Darno, Marcel Ozuna,
Yeah.
Orlando Arcia, Michael Harris just doing the darn thing, Darno and Ozuna back to back in multiple games, right? So
Yeah.
you see things like that, or you look at Arcia and Harris, then going back to back themselves, and you're looking at particularly the bottom of that order, just doing crazy things, right? So those are the things that really excite you because they're doing it definitely with the long ball. I mean, home runs by a mile, if you will. It's crazy what they're doing, but even doing it with efficiency because you're talking
Right.
about last night in that 10-4 win in game 2 against the Nats, 10 runs but just 13 hits, so being very efficient and making sure that every at bat counts. You absolutely love to see it, and it really makes you think to yourself, and I'm going to really single him out because he's a guy that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about a lot of late. So when Ozzie Albies went down, yes, we all thought that the Braves would be fine, but last night was going to be the telltale, so to speak, of whether or not it would be the case. Orlando Arcia gets himself a home run. Orlando Arcia has a nice night out at second base last night. It looks like Jarvis, he might be at least one of the answers for these Braves in terms of being able to continue with this type of success in the absence of such an important cog in the wheel.
You know what? Just from a production standpoint, I think that he can at least be the short term answer, right? We can at least
Yes.
get that answer locked
Yes.
down. As far as long term, how long Ozzy is out past
Hmm.
that 60-day barometer that's been set for him
Yeah.
right now, I think that we are looking for those short term answers, and I think
Agreed.
that if you have a short term answer in house, that kind of helps you out, right?
Hmm.
But we all know how Alex Anthopoulos gets down. If there's something out there, because I think it's different when you go to the table desperately needing an answer
Agreed.
versus
Yeah, no
I'm
doubt.
willing to I'm willing to talk. Like that's a totally different conversation, right? Like, so
Mhm.
if you sitting up here saying like, okay, if there's a guy out there, a second baseman that is solid, really solid, rock solid, and you know that they'll benefit you if you add him to that team,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
that particular team that he's on is gonna
Mhm.
say, hey,
Well,
we know what you need. We know you're desperate, so we need to come on about a couple of those prospects you got down there.
that's right.
But that's not necessarily the case here
No.
because if Orlando Arcia continues to, we're not going to expect him to do what he did last night every night.
Right.
But if he's able to at least show some consistency at the plate and play
Mhm.
solid defense, I think that Alex Anthopoulos may be able to make a better move because
Yeah.
of that, because he's not desperate, because he's not in need of a short term answer right now, but because he has it in Orlando Arcia, I believe. So I think that this is something that is just further proves that Alex Anthopoulos, man, is just a really good general manager,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it shows that the Braves have is from a roster building standpoint and having a plan for a backup plan for a backup plan,
Hmm.
they have mastered it. And I think
Yeah.
that, the Braves are benefiting from it right now.
Yeah, and also having and so it's that leverage that you're
Right.
talking about.
There you
Having
go.
that leverage is critical, but also the leverage that you're having because you made a few moves here and there, right? Some of those moves in-house, just saying, okay, what if I switch it up on in the batting order, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put Duvall in that 7 hole, and of course, last night Arcia in that 8 hole, and of course, Michael Harris the second, bringing it up the
That
rear, and
bottom
it's
of the
like,
lineup has been so productive, right?
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
it's crazy, right? Because there were moments in time where we all scratched our heads and said, "No, what's going on with the bottom of the lineup? What's going on with the bottom of
Mhm.
the order?" It wasn't working, and so just a few tweaks here and there with Brian Snicker, and of course, you're bringing Michael Harris up from Double A, and of course, Orlando Arcia is somebody you brought up and sent back down, brought up and sent back down in terms of last season. So kind of a known commodity there, if you will, and Duvall just starting to absolutely
Rake.
just tear things up right now. He's just so
Yes.
hot. So when you've got those individuals starting to do their thing, and then in the absence of maybe an Austin Riley being Austin Riley, because he's kind of quieted down or cooled off these recent weeks, but Dansby Swanson has heated up. So as you get those people in place, and you get a Max Fried who might have a rough inning here or there but bounces back, or even a Kyle Wright who might have a rough inning but bounces back. And hopefully, if Spencer Strider does his thing tonight, all it does is give Alex Anthopoulos the leverage that he needs so that, like you said, he'll listen if there's conversation about what can happen, but he's not desperate to go out and get somebody because he has answers in house. But yeah, I just really, it's been so exciting as well, just watching. I know we talked about him yesterday, but might as well give
Hmm.
him some more flowers today. And it's Michael Harris. I listened to this particular bite, and I said I love it because remember we talked about on Tuesday this team starting to show two things: consistency and identity. And the
Yes.
consistency goes harkens back to who they used to be, and the identity harkens back to what they will be. And when Michael Harris talked about the pride of playing for the Braves and putting on that uniform and doing everything that he can to show that it was the right decision to make, he said, when he goes out there, he just wants to put on for his city. I was like, oh, channeling your
Man.
inner Jeezy every time you go out there
Man, come on,
and do the
man.
darn thing.
Golly.
But you love it because we know that it worked when Austin Riley came up initially. Then there were some bumps in the road. Uncle Ron Washington helped him to make some adjustments, and then we got to see the real deal. It never quite worked out with Christian Pache, and that's not why he's no longer on the roster, but it looks like it's working out with MH2.
MH2 is just doing his absolute thing. Like, how could you not like this guy? How
Yeah.
could you not? How could you be a Braves fan and not like what Michael Harris is doing right now? Because you know me, when players start talking like that and acknowledging like the importance of representing where you come from.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that means so much to me for him to hear him say that. And I was actually going to bring up that quote. So I'm glad you brought it up. You
Yes.
kind of snuck me to it, but you beat me to it, T, because I just love when cats talk like that because I understand it. I get it. I understand what he means when he says that. A lot of people might say, "Oh, okay, yeah, you put on your uniform." No, it's different.
Yeah.
It's putting on mean you representing where you come from. You know where you come from, and you're playing for your hometown team that you probably
Yes.
more than likely grew up being a huge, huge fan
Hmm.
of because the
Sure.
tradition and history is so rich, with the Braves and with the city of Atlanta. And just being a young brother coming from, Stockbridge and being
Hmm.
drafted a few years ago, and then now skipping AAA to get called up, and now he just out here balling, talking about, the past 7 games, 11 for 26,
Yes.
423 batting average, 3 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 6 RBI, and a 846 slugging percentage. That's
Yes.
ridiculous. That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah.
And to add to that, an elite defender. An
Yes.
elite
Elite defender already.
elite
Yes.
defender. And I think that, you know, it I'm not saying it makes me it helps me kind of like it soothes the pain of Ozzie Albies not being there because
Hmm.
he's such a fun guy. We know what he brings,
Yes.
not only on the field but in the locker room as well, in the dugout. But it helps you kind of put it into perspective of like, okay,
Yes.
we know Ozzie is down,
Mm-hmm.
but we still can do some things just like
Yes.
they
Just like
did
you did last
last
year.
year.
Yeah, without exactly. And I think low key, not that we ever wanted it to come to this situation where you lost someone like an Ozzie Albies, but we're here. The Braves are here.
That's where we
And
are.
at
Yep.
least they have the experience of going through this kind of setback last year, like they did with Ronald Acuna Jr., but a little bit of a flip in that they lost him and then there was kind of a slide before they kind of picked it back up. This go
Right.
round, it's just the opposite, right? They are hitting their stride and maybe have already found the formula, which allows them to be able to minimize the impact maybe a little bit more. Now, when we come back, it's all about the culture. A gentleman who really, really tried to represent for the culture, unfortunately, had to pay for it. We'll talk about it on the other side. It's Jarvis and T right here for you on ATL Day Ones.